The gleaming marble floors of Atlantic National Bank reflected the morning sunlight as Rachel Whitman approached the entrance. At 34, dressed in soft gray sweatpants and a plain white t-shirt, she carried herself with quiet confidence despite her casual appearance. Her husband, Jonathan Whitman, walked beside her, his tailored navy suit and subtle platinum watch marking him as someone of significant means. At 42, he had built Whitman Strategic Holdings into one of the nation's most respected private equity firms, though he carried his success with understated dignity. "Are you sure you want to handle this alone?" Jonathan asked, checking his watch. "Absolutely," Rachel smiled, giving his hand a squeeze. "I've always managed the foundation's affairs independently. That was our agreement." Their relationship had always been grounded in mutual respect. Despite their immense wealth, Rachel chose a simple life, dedicating her time and energy to her nonprofit, the Whitman Literacy Initiative, which helped underprivileged children gain access to books and education. "I'll take that call from Singapore in the lobby while you get started," Jonathan said. It shouldn't take long. As they entered the bank, they drew starkly different reactions. Several employees straightened at the sight of Jonathan's bespoke suit, while Rachel's casual attire earned curious and dismissive glances. Today's visit was unusual. The foundation normally operated through electronic transfers, but a new educational outreach required a separate account and in-person documentation. Rachel approached the customer service area as Jonathan stepped aside for his call. His voice faded as he discussed global markets with his Asian team. Morning sunlight glinted off Rachel's simple gold wedding band as she stopped at the desk of Claire Jensen, the bank's customer service manager. Claire's neatly styled blonde hair and pristine white blouse projected polished professionalism, though the tightness in her smile hinted at stress. Neither woman knew this routine interaction would become a defining moment. Claire Jensen was not having a good morning. The promotion she had quietly fought for had gone to a younger colleague from another branch. Her perfect appearance masked the raw frustration simmering underneath. When she spotted Rachel in sweatpants, she immediately pegged her as someone who didn't belong. Atlantic National Bank wasn't just any bank. It was where New York's elite safeguarded their wealth. "Good morning," Rachel said, her tone warm and respectful. "I'd like to make a deposit and open a new account." Claire gave a clipped smile. "Do you currently have an account with us?" "No, this would be a new relationship," Rachel replied, placing a folder with a large check on the desk. "It's for the Whitman Literacy Initiative. We're launching a new program." Claire glanced at the check, her eyebrows lifting at the six-figure amount. Her demeanor shifted from indifferent to suspicious. "That's a substantial deposit," she said, not reaching for the folder. "May I ask where these funds originated?" "We raised them during our annual benefit. All documentation is included, including our 501(c)(3) certification." The volume of Claire's voice subtly increased, drawing attention from nearby patrons. "I'm sorry," Claire said, louder now, "but we don't typically open accounts of this size without thorough verification. Perhaps you misunderstood the kind of institution we are." Rachel's cheeks flushed, but her voice remained composed. "Our CFO called ahead to confirm everything was in order. All necessary paperwork is included." Claire's smile tightened. "Ms. Whitman, Atlantic National serves a particular clientele. Our high-net-worth customers expect a certain environment." She gestured vaguely to Rachel's outfit. "I'm not convinced this is the right fit." The words landed like a slap. A hush fell over the surrounding area. A young associate looked up from his desk, his expression conflicted. "Is there a problem with the documentation?" Rachel asked. "Let's be honest," Claire said in a lowered but still audible tone. "This check is for $250,000. People handling that kind of money don't usually look like they just left a spin class. It raises questions." Rachel stiffened. "The Whitman Literacy Initiative is a registered nonprofit. We've helped more than 12,000 children nationwide." Claire leaned in, her voice condescending. "Perhaps you should consider a bank more suited to your demographic. I'd hate for this to escalate." "Are you refusing this deposit?" Claire pointed her finger directly at Rachel. "I'm suggesting you take your business elsewhere before I have to involve security." Across the lobby, Jonathan ended his call and noticed the commotion. Rachel's rigid stance and the pointed gesture made his pulse quicken. He crossed the marble floor with quiet authority. One glance at his expression made a nearby security guard straighten and a junior associate drop his pen. "Claire, engrossed in her power play, didn't notice until he was nearly beside them. "Is there a problem here?" Jonathan asked, his voice calm, yet commanding. Claire turned, annoyance flashing before freezing into horror as she recognized him. "Sir, I was just assisting this woman," she stammered. Jonathan placed a reassuring hand on Rachel's shoulder. "That woman is my wife," he said, each word deliberate. Claire's face went pale. "Your wife?" "Yes. Rachel Whitman, founder of the Whitman Literacy Initiative. She's here to open an account for our new program." He gestured to the check. The realization hit Claire like a freight train. The same woman she had dismissed held more influence than she could comprehend. "Mr. Whitman," Claire said, her tone imploring. "There's been a mistake." "From where I stood," Jonathan said, voice steady. "It looked like my wife was being judged for her clothing, not her character." Claire fumbled for words. "Sir, I was just following protocol for large deposits." "By implying fraud? By threatening security? Is that your protocol?" The silence in the bank was deafening. From the office balcony above, Henry Caldwell, the bank president, looked down and saw the gathering crowd. His expression changed when he recognized Jonathan Whitman, one of their most valuable clients, with more than $300 million in assets under management. Moments later, he descended into the lobby. "Mr. Whitman," he said warmly, though his brow was furrowed. "This is unexpected." "I wish I could say it was pleasant," Jonathan replied. "Your manager just publicly insulted my wife." Caldwell turned to Rachel, then to Claire, whose face was ashen. "Please, join me in the conference room," he said. "Ms. Jensen, stay here." In the private room, Caldwell issued a personal apology. "This is not just an individual failing," he admitted. "It reflects a deeper issue within our culture." Jonathan nodded. "It's not about me or my wife. It's about anyone who doesn't look the part being treated as suspect." Rachel leaned forward. "Tomorrow, someone else will walk and dress simply, maybe carrying their savings or donations from a community group. Will they be treated the same way?" Caldwell looked shaken. "What would you propose?" "Mandatory bias training," Rachel replied. "Policy revisions prioritizing dignity over appearances. And partner with our foundation to create pathways for underserved students into finance." Caldwell nodded. "And Ms. Jensen?" "Effective immediately, she's removed from client-facing duties. Her continued employment will depend on her willingness to change." At that moment, the young associate from earlier, Elijah Tran, entered with the completed paperwork. "Mrs. Whitman," he said quietly, "your program helped my sister. She struggled with reading for years. Now she's thriving." "Thank you." Rachel smiled gently. "What's her name?" "Maya. Tell her I'm proud of her." Outside the conference room, Claire stood frozen. As Rachel and Jonathan passed, Rachel paused. "You can't undo what happened," she said. "But if your son struggles with reading, we have a parent workshop next week." Claire took the card with trembling hands. "Thank you," she whispered. 6 months later, a storm of cameras and applause erupted as Rachel stepped onto the stage at the National Education Equity Forum. Her presence alone silenced the room. Wearing her signature minimalist attire, she looked every bit the woman who had changed how one of America's largest banks did business. Behind her, a massive screen displayed the Whitman Initiative plus Atlantic National, redefining access. A standing ovation broke out. On the front row sat Claire Jensen beside her son, who now beamed with pride as Rachel cited his story as part of the initiative's success. In a moment of unplanned grace, Claire stood and publicly acknowledged her mistakes, ending with, "Don't wait to be humbled by the world to start seeing people for who they really are." The room stood again. Rachel stepped down into the crowd. She wasn't just a guest of honor, she was a symbol. True change had begun. And it wasn't just policy, it was personal. As she returned to her seat, Jonathan whispered, "You didn't just change a bank, you changed the lens through which they see humanity." Rachel smiled, her voice soft and certain. "We're just getting started." And with that, the lights dimmed, not on the story, but on the beginning of a movement far bigger than marble floors or balance sheets. A movement sparked by dignity, shaped by compassion, and led by the quiet strength of a woman in sweatpants who dared to demand better. The end.